Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the lowest scoring fire legendary in the game as of the release of Duel Cavalry 4. Yep. It's just Roy. I mean, I don't expect anything more, to be honest.
Let the lesson begin.
Hey guys, Akariss here, bringing another Fire Emblem Heroes video. If you didn't already deduce from the title of the video, or maybe the thumbnail, today's video is going to focus on Blue Cavalry units with the debut of course, Blue Duel Cavalry skill. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to rank the Blue Cavalry units for arena gameplay. Kind of give you guys started on what you should think, because there actually is quite a few of them, especially the 3 and 4 star options, as you guys can see from the left here. But the Blue Lance Cav meme is not a meme, because they literally have thrown so many at us over time that it might just get all like wishy in your head, wishy-washy. Again, the concept of this video is just to help you guys make better choices and investment decisions on who you want to play with in Heroes. Subject to whatever resources you have, guys. It is my opinion, so if you don't have exactly the same skill or build that I showcase here, make do with what you have, adjust, and it will still work to a good amount of success. Another thing to keep in mind, of course, is that not everyone plays Arena, but at least this information can maybe get you started thinking about what you might encounter in Arena if nothing else, and maybe you can help adapt for that, such as if Blue Duel Cavalry is popular enough that people start using it, and of course if Reinhardt is popular enough, then you probably want a very good green unit on your core set of teams to counter him, for example. But yeah, what is surprising though, folks, is that there isn't actually that many 5-star Blue Cavalry at all. In fact, it's like less than 20. There really hasn't been that many premium ones. There's been quite a few seasonal ones, and yeah, it's just kind of shocking, I guess. I looked through the list and I was like, okay, yeah, there's not a lot. There's a lot of Blue Lance Cavs that were given for free. That makes sense. And then I saw like the premium options, and there weren't that many, which actually made ranking them fairly easy. But yeah, let's actually just jump straight into that. I'll give you guys sample builds as well for wherever we might end up talking. But yeah, so the first thing we should mention, of course, is the free-to-play 3-4 star options. Now, Ryan is obviously in his own tier, because if you have a Blue Duel Cavalry skill and you don't have someone like Legendary Ephraim or maybe some plus 10 premium Blue Cav in general, then you should give it to Ryan. I mean, that'd basically be the TLDR of the whole video. Ryan is great and has aged even better. The one below me is obviously without the Resplendent stats, but he looks even better if you were to throw Resplendent stats on him. So yeah, one thing I really want to emphasize with cavalry units in general, especially with dual skills, is their ability to use trace skills. So both Reinhardt and Camus are both great, and anyone really is great users of trace skills, because Kanto is mobility, and mobility is king, especially in Arena where you don't always have access to stuff like reposition, draw back, shove, whatever that might be. With trace, it lets you kind of get in, position yourself correctly, manipulate AI. Just a lot of awesomeness. More on the actual tier list rankings themselves. I do think if you have ranged invested, even Veronica, who is seasonal and doomed to never get a weapon refine, is still a solid bet or a solid investment over most melee units. Most. I'm not gonna say all, because it does depend on your own team comps to some extent, but for example, if you were to give it to Veronica, that's still the ability to hit and run or set up space by making rally loops and such. So that is huge, and even somebody like Veronica is still going to be a good investment for Blue Duel Cavalry, even if it might not be better than Reinhardt, but it's still better than most of the melee units there. And the melee units themselves, of course, they're not all that bad. Like Camus, for example, he has distant counter because of Gradivis, and when you combine him with B-Duel Cav, which gives him stats that he wants anyways for combat, actually makes him a solid option for this. It makes him a solid option for B-Duel Cav, gives him some pretty nice matchups, and that's why I'd consider him some of the better ones. Stuff like Clive and Matilda have support capabilities and slaying or armor slaying, so those are good weapons to have. Petrine is really good right now because you actually will see beasts such as Fallen Edel, and she hits res, so if you don't have a res hitting ally on your team composition, she ends up being extremely good. Some of the other good options, of course, are in the melee there, and I do think like Roderick needs a mention, especially if you can give him Trace, because with Roderick, Resplendent Reinhardt, with Roderick, you could combine him with Trace and his Fire Sweep Lance effect and get some free kills or free hits on enemies, and that's awesome. Now, Trace may not be super available right now, and that's okay. If you have lull skills, that's still going to work. Just Trace is definitely going to be the best choice that you can put in the B slot. And when we get access to more of it, maybe through Spark, maybe through permanent banners, you're definitely going to want to put it into that B slot, whether it's ranged or melee. It doesn't really matter. Some of the other A melee ranked heroes here, again, might be due for refine, such as Death Knight or Orson, or maybe Pane, who might have like a beast or dragon team, still going to be really good. But definitely don't invest it into like the B melee teams, the B rankings here, because those guys are kind of doomed for a while or are already doomed. So Abel is really good if you have like a full cavalry arena team, which I don't think most people, if anyone's going to have. So I had to put him there because he's way too niche. Somebody like Finn and Conrad and Silas are too subject. We don't know if they'll get good stuff or not. And then it could end up easily being better than this. And then, NY Leg Yarn and Spring Minerva, just like stats won't really carry you enough to make you a good investment compared to some of the other stuff we have here. Now, the premium options is not as extensive as the FTP options, and that's because there just aren't as many. But I'll make it pretty simple. Again, ranged is the way to go, but some of the range ones are not as good as some of the melee here, depending on your team comp again. So for example, if you already have like range units on your team, you probably don't want to give it to like a +10 Sorin or a +10 Bridal Pent, right? It'd be way better to give it to like Ingrid or Brave Elwood, or even Duisel to some extent. That doesn't excuse the fact that range is still superior, and one thing I don't like here is someone like Selena, even though she might have no follow-up in her weapon, would still want Wind Sweep, and that conflicts with Trace. So, not a huge fan of that either. And I do feel like if you have, like, let's say Legendary Ephraim, or one of the people who had him from way back when, he's actually really good with this and brings them up to a 180 scoring. Now, I didn't put the Solar Brace here, which will get upgraded. It's kind of bad now, but it could definitely end up being pretty good. He would be likely due for a refine, and that would make him a solid option. Now, if you can afford to, like, let's say, lose a little bit of score to run the Trace skill, for example, he makes good use of Trace, he makes good use of Solo, and his Flame Signet all synergize really well with that. But if his Trace ends up giving him Canto, for example, or just makes it really good, then you're just going to want to put the Trace skill there, the Solar Brace skill there anyways. So Ephraim definitely wins. I mean, Roy is now like a clown. Like he always was a clown, but now he's even more of a clown, and I feel sorry for Roy users. Maybe he'll get his time in the spotlight, but it's definitely not right now. Katria should be due for refine as a range, so that's pretty cool. Dire Thunder is still Dire Thunder, and that still makes Olwen a solid investment if you're one of the +10 Olwen users. Selena is good, but the fact that Windsweep and Trace kind of compete makes it kind of like I would probably consider Olwen to be better. But a lot of the melee are really good. So like Ingrid, for example, having that wind sweep effect, it's just like a better Roderick, essentially, at the end of the day, plus true damage, and that's amazing. Someone like Brave Elwood is due for refine within a month or two, and that would make him a really solid investment to consider, because, again, he already has like Beast and Dragon Slaying, I believe, so they're going to add probably some more stuff to that and just make him really good, and something to consider, think about, maybe either holding your dual skill or maybe completing Elwood within the time that he comes back and such. That makes him a solid option. As I mentioned with Camus, a build I don't post here, but one you should really consider, is that Berkut himself has this encounter, but that could synergize really well with, let's say, Wings of Mercy or escape route skills or brazen skills on your team. So it's not a build I showed, but like someone like Berkut could potentially even amplify or synergize your team even further. Finally, of course, don't give it to the seasonals. They're not going to get weapon refines, or at least we don't know for now. Someone like Selkie has too much reliance on, let's say, beast teams or like a magical damage meta. And finally, Quan and Dimitri are just up in the air, unknown for now. So we don't really know what's going to happen with Noble Lance, and Quan just kind of sucks. Like, his weapon just isn't good enough. That pretty much concludes everything, folks, with how I feel about the Blue Cavalry units right now in the game. And yeah, if you get it or happen to have any of these units even at +10, definitely consider my list, maybe recommendations, and definitely enjoy playing with Cavalry in Arena, folks. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Think about subbing, smashing the like button. Patreon and Twitch is in the description below. Love you all. Peace.
It's over.